All right, shalom. So I'm back. Hopefully you can hear me a little better with this one. So today is Shabbat. It's the ritual for the unification of the worlds within and without, the forces of polarity coming together in harmony, the masculine and the feminine, the mother and the father, the soul and the body, heaven and earth. So I love when these readings fall on Shabbat because it's such a beautiful foundation to be doing this work. Because really what this does, this work with the archetypes, is provide the tools that we need to come to the balance, the mission of the moment, finding the balance that we're needing to come to right now, and asking for the tools to get there. And so that's why I love when it's on Shabbat. Perfect setting, perfect setting. So go ahead, and while I'm shuffling, and while friends and family are tuning in, just go ahead and first acknowledge that this is a circle of wonderful beings who are all coming together, and each of our energy is contributing in some way to the channel that is being formed and opened for the information to come through. So I acknowledge each and every one who's tuning in here now for the live video, for this reading, and I thank you for your contribution to the activation that will take place. So the third quarter activation, the final quarter activation, is all about the last leg of the cycle. So we had the full moon 1 week ago. If you missed the reading, you're welcome to check that out. It's not necessary. It's up to you. And in order to find that, you can just go to youtube.com/RebeccaMagick. So this is the final quarter reading, which means we had the full moon 1 week ago. We received the full picture, and since then we've been integrating that. Now we're coming to an end. We're going to wrap up the cycle, and next week we'll have a very powerful new moon. And it will be initiating Libra season, so coming to a full balance. That is the new year, the Jewish New Year and the Egyptian New Year. So next week is going to be a very powerful new beginning. So how can we wrap up the last cycle and set the stage for the next one? So go ahead and create a space, however you do that. Create a space inside of yourself, because if we keep asking, we won't create a space for the answers to come in. So release everything, create a space, and then go ahead and connect to the deck however you know how. Use your imagination. You can send a thread from your heart to the deck, whatever you need to do to feel connected to the cards that I'm shuffling right now. And the cycle has been a heavy one. We've just passed through Virgo, going into Libra, so it's all about making order of the chaos so that we can come to a balance, a new balance, each year, each cycle. And that whole cycle is represented in a single moment. But this is what's happening for us on this earth right now, okay? We're changing from this Virgoan energy to Libran energy. So a lot of upheaval, a lot of things were revealed this month, because in order to make order of the chaos, we needed to ask for that stuff to be revealed. We needed it to come up so that we could even make sense of it, so that we could have somewhere to begin. And now it's wrapping up, and we're sitting with all the heaviness and everything we've learned, and we're doing our best to integrate that so that we can most properly and wholly show up as that new version of our balance, our unique balance for Libra season. Okay, so what do we want to know? Thank you in advance, Archetypes, Faces of the One, for this archetypal activation and map for us to move ahead. Okay, so what did we take out of this past cycle for this month? What was it all about? If we could pick one archetypal theme to summarize it, what was it? What are we ready to finally feel complete with and put down, put behind us, but also allow it to be the foundation and stepping stone to move into the future? Okay. The current challenge right now, as we are in between worlds, the last cycle and the new, and an ally. Okay. Woo! Right away we have a major arcana card. Okay? I feel a little low here. I'm gonna lift myself up here. right away we have a major arcana card, and this is the card representing what this whole cycle has been about and what we're stepping into. It's one of my favorite cards of the deck. Just kidding, I love you all. So the wheel is the 10. It's the 10 of the deck of the major arcana. And so it relates to all the 10s in the minor arcana: fulfillment, completion, an ending, and a new beginning. And this is the one that represents all that, an ultimate new beginning, ending and new beginning. So this cycle has, I basically just said it right before I pulled this card, okay? This cycle has all been about making order of the chaos that has been going on in our lives, subconsciously and very consciously. Pulling it all up so that we can reorganize it, right? That Virgoan energy, so that we can analyze it in order to reorganize it in a way that's going to bring us most consciously and efficiently into Libra season in a whole new balance. So that's what this has all been about. That's why it was feeling so heavy, because it was worth it. Because it was all so that we could really dig deep and really start a new beginning. Not just like, kind of like have a little bit of a new inspiration. No, like a whole new cycle. A whole new cycle. And this is perfect for Rosh Hashanah and the New Year and the Egyptian and Jewish New Year coming up next week. We did all this work so that we could initiate this new cycle, and here it comes. And so now this is going to be behind us. In just a short bit, this is going to be behind us. That's what we're doing right now. We're making it so that it can be behind us, so that we can step into the new cycle that we have been preparing for. And the future. I can't make this stuff up. The future is the Fool. This is perfect, in my opinion. We have the 10 and then we have the 0. And the Fool can go anywhere in the deck. The Fool is the lens that all the others should be looking through. And the Fool is source, unlimited source, connection to that source, trust in that source, taking a leap of faith, not being naive and not, just jumping into something without careful consideration. But what is the careful consideration that we must do? The only consideration, the only rationalizing that we must do in regards to this card is pulling up the remembrance of divine order and trusting in that. That's all we need to do. That's the work, is just getting back to that place of trust. And so that's what the Fool is all about. Trust in this unlimited source. Knowing that we are always connected to that source. And so long as, and there's a lot of symbolism in this to represent what I'm saying here, so long as we're connected to our purity and our own divinity, then we will have access to that source of power. And Rosh Hashanah is coming up, and right after that is Yom Kippur, and it's a time of repenting for sins, atonement at 1 mint. It's a time where we cleanse and purify because we understand that it's a new year and we need to let go of the old to build the new. And then right after that purification comes Sukkot, the third of the 4 high holy days that are approaching. And that is about rebuilding the temple, rebuilding yourself, your body, your vessel, so that your spirit can come in renewed. And so this card makes sense that this is what we're approaching with the new moon and everything to come. A new beginning, a fresh start to reconnect to source in a way that is purified and stronger than last year and the year before that. Hopefully, we're getting it by now. So if I were to pick a card for this powerful Libran season and New Year fresh start, of course, I would choose this. So I'm happy that this came up. It feels very resonant, and I hope it does for you too. Okay, so this makes sense. We've started a new cycle. We've done all the preparation work this whole month, this past month. We're closing it up now. It's time to step into the cycle, the new cycle that we have created and initiated together as a collective. And all the work we've done individually, doing our parts for that collective, for this collective of which we're all a part. So let's see what the current challenge is between now and the new moon. So this is just 1 week. It's not a big deal. And I also want to highlight, because this is very much on my mind as I'm writing a book right now. This has been my focus. Every challenge, every single one, however big or small you want to judge it as, is an opportunity to ascend. Every challenge is a chariot. When you find yourself thinking challenge, think chariot. Literally every single one has a hidden chariot in there. And when you perform alchemy by remembering what that challenge is about as it arises, when you're in the thick of it, when you're feeling uncomfortable and you're in the challenge, when you are able to call upon your conscious awareness to rise up in that moment in fullest presence, that is when you open up the opportunity to access the chariot within the challenge. That is when you alchemize things. Your inner magician alchemizes things, alchemizes a situation so that you can make the most of it and transcend the challenge of this dualistic reality back to a space of oneness, to be able to respond to this reality of duality from that place of oneness. So it takes you higher. It helps you to rise above the situation, bringing conscious awareness to your challenge. It helps you to rise above the matter, to then come back down and respond with a full, whole perspective. So it's really, it brings you to a place of timelessness. It's a very special gift that we all have, and all we need to do is remember that challenge is chariot, our vehicle for ascension. So with that being said, what is the chariot then between this past cycle and the new one to come? And for this week, getting there. This is the card I was seeing the entire time I was speaking to you guys, because this is the card of being in between worlds. And I literally just said that. I said, we are in between worlds right now, the last cycle and the upcoming one. So what better a card than the Two of Pentacles? I mean, you can see, for those of you who've never even seen any tarot symbols before in your life, you can see how this would represent what I'm saying, and I'll explain here. Pentacles is the material plane. These coins are pentacles, the material plane. And it's the two. It's balance in harmony. This is the card of being in between worlds. It's the card of still having one foot in the old and stepping one foot into the new. We still have attachments to the old, but we're currently the middle, we're the bridge. We're working on transmuting one energy to another so that we can fully step into the new world. But there is always that in-between stage, and that's where we're at right now. So the challenge is, how can we walk forth? How can we move forward into this new cycle with fullest faith, really setting the stage to get to the fullness of this card, which is full trust in unlimited source? How can we right now pave the way to this? Because this is what's coming. So how can we rise up to meet the universe and consciously create the way? Create the path, because we're going to do it however consciously or unconsciously. So knowing that this is what's coming, how can we begin to integrate it in our awareness now? So the challenge is going to be those time, what it's going to look like in a realistic way. Like, let's relate it to our material plane right now and what's happening. This is going to look like, wow, it's really hard to leave behind this old behavior or this old way of responding. Or it's really hard to let go of this relationship or this job or this situation. And what it looks like to perform the transmutation necessary to step into the new world is to face those feelings as they arise, to face those thoughts as they arise and correct them. And know that each time those challenging thoughts come up, they're chariot thoughts. They're opportunities for ascension and transcendence. So when you feel the challenge, think chariot and think, oh, right. I'm not quite out of the old world yet. And in order to step into the new, these are those moments where I need to step in with my conscious awareness and really talk myself through it and work through these things. And it gives us the motivation to want to do that, because we don't want to be in that old world anymore. And that's the thing we really need to remember. Why are we even doing this? What am I doing and why am I doing it? Remember your goal. Remember that new world. Keep images of it. Keep, mantras of it, whatever, nearby so that you can remember your intentions. And then when those challenges come up, remember they are chariots, and say, yes, okay, I know what this is, and I'm ready to perform alchemy to fully step into that new world. So again, this challenge is going to come up in ways where it has us feeling stuck, wanting to run, wanting to abandon our strategy of stepping into that new world. But it's going to take work to get there. You have to accept this. You have to know this, and you have to accept it to fully access the success of this strategy. And we're all in this together. So we must remember, what is that new world that we've been stepping into? And it's okay if you need to refine your vision of what that new world is. And then that will very much affect your process right now of being in between. You will need to be very aware of how you are bridging those worlds. Because depending upon the vision that you have for this next step, the steps right now will need to shift. The variables will change. So whatever your vision is for what you want to step into, the fullness of that vision, sink into that deeply and really be clear on what that is so that you can move ahead right now with this in-between stage we're in and get the work done before that new cycle approaches. And that's okay if you don't, but what I'm saying here is if you do this, you will access the wheel and the seasons and the cycles in such a way that it will support you most efficiently. However, if you take too long, again, there's no such thing as time. We created that. And so it doesn't matter if you miss the mark. My point is, there's a cycle here, and if we access that rhythm, we will find that we will be the most supported. So that's why I'm doing this reading right now. And that's why we do the readings when we do. Not just because of the moon, but because the moon is reflecting something that's happening all around us and within us. So how can we ride that wave, you know? So this is the wave of now, is this in-between. So those challenges when they come up and it feels like we'll never make it to the other side or we're too stuck in the old world. You're halfway there, babe. You're halfway there. Do you want to go or not? If you want to turn around, then by all means, go ahead. No one's going to stop you. But you are halfway there. So solidify your decision once and for all, whatever it is. Have that vision of where you're headed. And really carefully observe how your actions, your thoughts, your words are getting you there. Each and every one. We have to watch closely. And again, whenever you feel stuck or you feel a challenge, know that those are the chariots, the opportunities that you've been seeking, the opportunities that you've created and brought to yourself. But in order to access them, you must step in and respond in a way that is aligned with the vision that you are wanting so badly to manifest. So whenever you feel stuck or scared, just think of that vision that you're wanting. Think of that manifestation that you're working for, and allow that to be the inspiration and motivation to pull that foot that's behind you ahead so that your feet can meet in this new world that you've been looking forward to stepping into. Okay. And the ally, as we move into the new cycle and new moon, is the Nine of Pentacles. Perfect. This has been coming up in so many readings this month. I love that this one is here now for the third quarter, the final quarter reading, because it's a 9, it's an ending. It's not a 10, an ending and a new beginning. It's a 9. So we're specifically focused on how to achieve the end of this cycle here so that we can step into the new. Okay, and I love how we have a major arcana at the beginning and the end, and then right in the middle we have two of the same suit, Pentacles. So the challenge is Pentacles, or the Chariot, and the ally is also Pentacles. So in order to move out of this in-between stage and into the new moon in the best way possible, the ally is the 9, seeing the ending, bringing it about. And I already said this a minute ago, so I guess it was kind of foreshadowing what I'm going to confirm here. That in order to get through this in-between stage as a challenge, creating the chariot to move ahead, in order to get through this challenge, whenever we feel those moments of doubt or being stuck or unclear about where we're headed or feeling like it's just impossible to get there, we have to remember our vision, our true vision of abundance and prosperity in this new world that we're stepping into. Reevaluate it if you must. Take a second while you're stretched between this world and that, while you're bridging worlds. Take a moment to revisit your vision of completion. Hold tightly to that vision. It will be your ally. It will remind you of your motivations and your intentions, and it will give you the strength of will and the fire of your spirit that is necessary to move ahead and pull that foot that's been so stuck in that old world and make it meet your other foot, strongly grounded in the new. So you can see why this would be the ally. We're only in between right now. We're only at the 2. We still got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to get to the 9. And so if we just look ahead and don't focus so much on all of the numbers in between, then we can relax a little bit. Because when we see all those steps in between we have to take, it can be scary, and that involves this challenge right here. We're like, shit, I might have one foot in the new, but this other one, this foot in the old, is heavy. It's heavier, and it makes me want to pull the one that's forward back. It makes me want to step back, however, subconsciously. I'm feeling that pull. My back leg is like a weight in that old world. And so we think of all those steps that we still have to take, and we become discouraged because we relate all those steps to many different things in our minds. We relate it to time, and we think, wow, I have so much more to go still, rather than focusing on how far we've come. And time is an illusion, so why would we allow ourselves to sink into those thoughts that are only going to limit us and hold us back? If we say it's going to take X amount of time, it's going to take X amount of time. And those steps in between this to this are inevitable. They're going to happen. They're a natural process. So instead of focusing on them so much mentally, why don't we just be present and feel the real experience as we move through it? Remembering the 9, the completion, and holding on to that vision, because that's really the only vision that matters as far as universal law and manifesting and attracting our desires. If we focus so much on the in-between, then we're going to attract more of that. We're going to complicate the process. That's the irony of it. We're not meant to think about the how. We think about the thing, and we feel the thing, and we match its frequency, and the universe provides the way. And so that's kind of what's represented here. While we're still in this in-between, don't look back. Don't think about how far we have to go. Just think about how far you've come. Think about where you are. Don't think about the past or the future. Think about this present moment and the eternal power, the infinite power that you're connected to in each moment. Bring that into this process while you're still in between, before we get to the end and the fullness of that vision in the new world that we've created, that we prepared for this whole month. Until we get there, just skip ahead and think of the future. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? In each moment lies the Fool. In each moment, like I said when this was pulled, the 0 doesn't have a place. It can go anywhere in the deck. It's the lens that all the others are seen through. Okay, so see through it now. It's always available to you. Know that, yeah, you might be in between, and the goal is to move ahead, and so we're keeping that vision in mind, and we will get there best by seeing this through this. Okay, this is the lens. With ultimate trust and faith in our divine source, we hold on to that vision of abundance, knowing we'll absolutely achieve it as long as we align our divinity, our will with that of the divine. So there's no worries. If we're on the virtuous path and we're being true and our vision of abundance is good for one and all, then why should we have any shame in holding on to that vision? We shouldn't have any guilt. It's for the good of one and all, isn't it? Isn't it? Well, if it's not, then there's something to consider there. But if it is, well, then move forward with fullest confidence and trust that it absolutely will manifest. And bring that trust into the moment here now while you're still not quite there yet. Because there is no there, and there is no time. There's no time and there's no space. That's all an illusion for fun on this earth so that we can continue to grow. So acknowledging all that, coming back to this present moment and enjoying the process, knowing we'll get there. Be patient. Be patient and remember that we're in between right now. We're not at that part yet because we're here. And not that we can skip ahead, but holding on to the vision of it will help us to get there. We can't skip the steps in between, but we also don't need to determine them. That's more work than we have to do. So we can't just skip ahead. But don't worry. Each step of the way will present many opportunities for you to get to this space if you only hold on to it. So what we see all around us is already a result of a past thought. So what this is saying is, no, we can't just skip ahead to here. There is a process in this time-space distortion of a dimension here, this material world. But close your eyes and feel as often as possible the feeling of the frequency that comes with your unique vision of that new world you're stepping into. Okay. Wow, this was a super clear reading as always, and thank you for everybody who's contributing to the super clear channel right now. I can feel you all, and these readings help me so much to ground in, to get clear, to let go of thoughts that were maybe clouding the truth of what's really going on here, out there. Okay, so I'm just going to summarize really quick what happened here. This month we've been preparing for a new cycle. It's been a lot. We've been making order out of the chaos, Virgo, order. Analyzing and making order out of the chaos that brings us to a whole new balance. Bringing us to where we are now, preparing for the new moon next week, Libra season, the Jewish and Egyptian New Year. So it makes sense, right? We've been creating that because what is birthed in the material realm has to first happen in the unseen realm. So this is what we've been doing. These are the archetypal energies we've been playing with in the unseen realm so that now they're going to manifest. So yes, in one way, we're not leaving this card behind because we're only now beginning to see the birth of it on the material plane. But this is already the past. Like I said, the material is already, it's a manifestation of a past thought. So yes, we are going to see this happening just now with this new year and Libra season, reaching a new cycle. We've completed a cycle. We've come to a new balance. Now time to fall again so that we can rise for next year. Okay, time to eat the apple again. So we've created this on the unseen realm. That's what we've been doing this month, preparing for the birth of a new cycle on Earth. And why did we do it? What is this new cycle for? How can we start off this new cycle next week with the new moon in the best way possible? Like, what is to come? And it was the Fool. So all about unlimited trust, faith in our unlimited potential and reflection of our divine source. The best way to start any journey is with the attitude of the Fool. In the light, of course, not being naive and boastful and, forgetting where the true power comes from. But no, remembering that real source and having full trust and faith in it as we begin this journey. Another part of the Fool is there are these treacherous mountains in the background. He's looking ahead. He's not looking behind him. He's not looking at what's going to happen along the way and all the challenges to come, because then he might be too afraid to even take the first step. No, he's fearless. He accepts that there will be challenges, but he doesn't need to focus on them. He doesn't need to stare at them and become overwhelmed by his fear and then forget his trust and forget his connection to source. That would be foolish in a way that we don't want. We want more of the Fool in his light. To be really just trusting, like a child, innocent and youthful, not afraid to take the first step of our journey. So this is the perfect card to begin the new year. And then we have the 2 Pentacle cards in the middle. The challenge or chariot, the challenge which becomes the chariot when we perform the alchemy necessary, was the 2 of Pentacles being in between these 2 worlds, the perfect card for the final quarter reading. We're closing up the last cycle and we're preparing for the new. Perfect card for that. And what challenges come with being in between? I'm sure you all know because we've been here many times in life and we're always here again and again. There are in-betweens in between the in-between. You know what I'm saying? Like these bodies and this earth are in between. They're the middle. This body is where the spirit comes in and creates a third thing, a synthesis. It's a bridge. This body is a bridge. This earth is a bridge. There are so many in-betweens everywhere we look. It's the forces of polarity coming together to create a synthesis, the mother and father to create the child. So we see this everywhere. This is such an archetypal energy that is present everywhere we look. Everywhere we look. And so this is the perfect card for in between the 2 cycles right now. So what are the challenges that will come with that? Pulling ourselves out of that old world and fully into the new. Although we have parts of us that are in the new, physically we're still very much in the old. And so it could be discouraging and we can feel like the foot that's behind us is a lot heavier than the foot that's in front of us. That it's easier to just pull back and be comfortable. But that's a false sense of comfort, isn't it? So it might feel easier to pull back and just go back into old ways and just accept that old world. So how can we keep our motivation and our inspiration alive to want to step into that new world? How can we activate our will? How can we strengthen it in a way that helps us to pull that back foot forward to meet the other? How can we fully step into the new world? Those are what the challenges are all going to be about. Remembering our motivation, activating our will, strengthening our will. And that happens through challenges, through trials, as represented by the 6, the lovers in the major arcana. That's trials. If there's nothing to transcend, then what are we doing here? This is all a learning place. The 6, the lovers, the trial, the challenge, leads to the 7, the chariot, ascension, spiritual attainment. Everything we do here on this physical plane is for the unseen, is for the spiritual plane. Because all that's here is impermanent, but all that's there will never die. All that's there in the spiritual world is eternal. So we need the challenge to rise above it, to observe ourselves going through that process, to learn from that process, things that we will take with us forever, for an eternity, as one collective. And the ally, as we move through these in-between worlds, is to remember that there is an end, the 9, there is an end, and that end should be represented by a vision that you have, that you're connected to, that you feel deeply, a vision of what that new world is that you're stepping into. You have to see it and you have to hold on to it so that you maintain that motivation to step fully into the new world. And don't be discouraged if you're not quite there yet, because none of us are. None of us are, and we're not meant to be yet. We're following along with the rhythm of nature. So right now, you're exactly where you're meant to be. 1 foot in the old, 1 foot in the new. You can't skip ahead, because each opportunity that we meet to step closer into that new world is bringing us a very special lesson and gift that we need to fully, wholly step into the new world. We can't just skip ahead. It's not fair, and we all are here to do the work, and we have to do it if we want to move into that new world. You can skip ahead and you can cut corners, but you won't receive as much success. You won't step in as integrated as you could if you access the help of your allies. Because these are your allies. These archetypes, they're beyond the tarot. They represent primordial energies at the foundation of all of life and creation. So if you open up to receive this guidance from your allies, then you can quantum leap ahead. You can use tools to help you recognize how to go about this process we are all inevitably experiencing in the most efficient way for the highest good of the one. So that's what this is about. It's letting you know this is what's happening at the root of all things, at the galactic center. So how aware of this can you be as we move through this process? We'll help you if you help us, they say. We will reward you if you help us, open up to us. And you will see your process will be a lot more graceful and supported without crisis. So the ally is holding on to that vision of pureness and prosperity, that new world, knowing with full faith that I'm of course going to get there, but I can't skip this process of in-between. And I can't take it personally either, because I'm not being punished. We're all in this in-between right now. There has to be an in-between. You can't just skip from the beginning to the end. That's why we're here on this earth, in these bodies. So enjoy the in-between. Know that each time you do the work, moving through those challenges of being still partially in the old world, that work that you do is the work that, if you are willing to consciously move through it and respond in a new way, those are the opportunities that will bring you step by step into that new world. You need those. You want those. You're calling them in. It's no one else. So don't pass them by. Squeeze them out. Make the most of that. Remember why they're showing up. They are the vessels needed to travel to that new dimension. Otherwise, you will still have 1 foot in the old. So I'm really excited to experience this new cycle with you all that we've been working on in the unseen realms to bring forth. And I'm looking forward to joining everybody in our own unique ways to accessing that fullest trust in our unlimited source, unlimited potential, holding on to our vision of that new world together, holding hands, joining forces, creating a greater light and power to fuel the vessel, the chariot of ascension that we are right now accessing through each challenge we face individually and collectively. I'm loving building this chariot with you all to move forward in a big, big new way. Knowing that none of us are alone and we're all halfway there. And that's perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want to be there right now because that's not where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be here. Time and space are an illusion anyway. So what I really want is to be right here in this present moment, directly where the divine has placed me, and directly where the divine has placed each one of you, so that we can have the temperance required to act in perfect timing in accordance with the cycles of nature. Knowing that the new moon to initiate Libra season next week, this new moon to really align all the new beginnings in one potent new beginning. Knowing why that is and why it is happening at that time, because it has its place in the seasons which were determined from a place outside of time and space. The seasons, the wheel beyond time. I trust in that divine order, which can never be manipulated or confused. And I know that this supercharged new moon upcoming is when we will fully be stepping onto the other side. And that's only a week away, so really, why are we in such a rush? Let's savor this in between. Let's make the most of each challenge to create the best chariot, not a little hoopty, something real nice to travel real far in, to really help us quantum leap in the best way possible. There is an ending, and there's always a new beginning. May we approach it as the Fool, with purity and true connection to an unlimited source of potential. Shabbat Shalom. I will see you in 1 week for Rosh Hashanah and this very powerful new moon. Blessings.